Adventure Time is a show where literally everyone has some kind of unresolved childhood trauma, and when you put that many traumatized people in one colorful post-apocalyptic wasteland, eventually someone is gonna snap. And when they do snap, they're snapping hard. Today, we're ranking the most valid freakouts in the entire series. And spoiler alert, some of them are so justified, I'm honestly surprised they didn't go harder. Alright, let's start with the most stupid valid crashout in the entire series. Jake is playing Compy's castle instead of training to fight the farm, this giant barn monster that's been terrorizing the land. Finn is taking it seriously, and Jake is not. So Finn, in a moment of frustration, breaks the video game. The screen flashes before it dies. Then it starts raining, emblematic of the tragedy that just happened. It wouldn't be that weird, except there are literally no clouds in the sky. The universe itself looked at this situation and went, "Oh, you two need to throw hands right now." Jake says, and I quote, well, actually I'm not gonna quote, here's the clip.
"I'm gonna break every bone in your body, then heal you later with that magical goo we got from the Cyclops' eye."
Which is actually kind of sweet if you think about it. He's so mad, he wants to beat Finn unconscious, but he's already planning the medical care afterward. That's brotherly love. What follows is one of the most brutal, petty fights in the entire show. Jake grows giganticus and just batters Finn around. Finn tricks Jake into punching himself. They fall off a log, and Jake starts kicking Finn while he's dangling from his head. Then they resort to cheap moves, Indian burns, throwing mud in each other's eyes. Jake pences Finn in front of everyone, then grows his ass massive to crush Finn like a hydraulic press. And Finn then ends the fight by biting Jake's ass. Classic. They both collapse, completely exhausted, bloody and bruised. And then they go on ahead to try to fight the farm anyway. And they're so tired that this literal barn with arms and legs just destroys them instantly. It's a kaiju, what did you think was gonna happen? Now, why is this whole fight valid? Because brothers fighting over a broken video game is the purest form of crash-out energy that exists. There's no deep trauma here, just two siblings being petty, and the universe giving them all the opportunity to fight they need. But if we look one episode before this, we get a crash-out that some might call unacceptable! So this one hits different because it's not about what happened to Lemongrab, it's about what he is. Princess Bubblegum created Lemongrab in her lab as an experiment in governance. He's a homunculus. The problem is, she made him with fundamental psychological flaws. He's unable to understand social cues, has extreme sensory sensitivities, can't regulate his emotions, and has a completely black and white view of right and wrong. As an autist myself, I am seeing some correlations here. Anyway, after realizing that he was too difficult to integrate into Candy Kingdom society, she just gave him his own castle and sent him away. So, Lemongrab spent years alone in Castle Lemongrab with nobody to talk to or to help him understand why he is the way he is, or to help him learn and to make relationships. He's just slowly deteriorating in isolation. When he finally confronts Princess Bubblegum about it, he's completely broken. He's screaming in her face, "You're my glove! You made me!" Spit flying everywhere, voice cracking, just a complete psychological meltdown. And PB just stands there because what can she even say? He's right. She did make him. She made him broken and then abandoned him when he didn't turn out how she wanted and didn't even bother to try to help. And it only gets worse from there. By too old, Lemongrab has devolved into a tyrannical blob who shock collars his own children. He eventually cannibalizes Lemongrab too and becomes this horrifying lemon flesh mountain. The creature PB created specifically to be a ruler became a monster because she didn't give him the support he needed in the beginning. Imagine your parent literally constructing you in a lab, deliberately or accidentally giving you psychological problems that make life impossible, then exiling you when you aren't pleasant to be around. I'd be screaming, "You made me!" too. And I would scream that regardless, just because it's fun, but hey, Lemongrab kind of deserves this freakout. At least Lemongrab was made wrong. The next person was made perfectly fine and still got used as a weapon because of a dream? So, Finn has been having these dreams where Flame Princess and Ice King fight each other, and the dreams are like, really cool and vivid. And Finn, being 15 years old and extremely stupid, decides he needs to make this happen in real life so that he can keep having these awesome dreams. He manipulates Flame Princess into fighting Ice King. He stages this whole thing using her own emotional vulnerabilities against her. And Flame Princess, she takes the bait. She grows massive, like kaiju-sized, and starts melting everything. The entire Ice Kingdom turns into puddles. Ice King's home, the place he's lived for centuries, is just gone. And Finn just stands there, whimpering apologies while his girlfriend becomes a walking nuclear reactor because of what he did. This is one of the few times in Adventure Time where a character's rage feels legitimately dangerous, not just cartoonish. FP just destroyed everything in sight because the person she trusted most treated her like a toy and threw her against another toy. Well, she only found out that he was the one who started it after she technically destroyed the entire Ice Kingdom. So she technically crashed out because of something slightly different. So was this crash out really valid? Let us know your thoughts. Finn's manipulation was calculated and personal and a bit cruel, but hey, it was still just a kid being an idiot. What Marceline's dad, Hunson, does is something else entirely. Hunson Abadeer is the Lord of the Nightosphere, which is basically hell in this universe, and he's also Marceline's estranged dad. When he shows up to visit his daughter, he immediately just starts criticizing her lifestyle choices, acts disappointed in her music career, and generally behaves like a corporate executive who is just annoyed that he has to attend his kid's school play. Marceline, trying to process this terrible parent-child dynamic, has to step away for a moment, and Hunson sees an opportunity. He transforms into his true form, this vertical mouth massive monster that's just teeth and hunger, and he goes on a cross-country soul-harvesting rampage. Green soul sacks everywhere, just devouring souls non-stop, moving from town to town, slurping them all up, an unstoppable force of pure consumption. At one point, he meets Gunther and calls him
evil thing I've encountered.
Which is saying something coming from the literal Lord of Hell. And we actually do also have a video about Gunther, so make sure to check out our channel for that one. The only thing that stops him is Marceline playing the Fry song, this sweet acoustic number about how her dad just ate her fries one time and she's still heard about it. And it works because even in the middle of a continental genocide, Hunson realizes that, yeah, he's been a terrible father. Why is this valid and why is it a crash out? Well, look, Hunson just happens to be made out of evil, right? So like crashing out is his normal state. And why is it valid? Well, it's who he is. Hunson at least stops though when his daughter asks him to. Jake's dad doesn't get that courtesy. When Jake discovers Warren Ampersand, his biological alien father, Warren immediately takes Jake to his home planet Nira, which is literally just Warren's name backwards. First red flag. He shows Jake this whole museum dedicated to him, talks about how he's been watching Jake his whole life, how proud he is, the entire alien dad routine, watching from a distance, right? Then Warren gives Jake a belt that matches his own, a Proud Pop belt for Warren, and a Galaxy Savior one for Jake. Jake really likes it, and then starts stretching, showing off for his dad, doing tricks. But then Jake starts noticing something. He's aging, rapidly, getting older, weaker, more wrinkled with every stretch, while Warren gets younger and more healthy. You can see where this is going. Warren then explains that this is what he does. He has children across dimensions so that he can drain their life force and live forever. He's done this to all of his lifespring. This could be thousands or even millions. Jake is just the latest in a long line of kids that Warren has killed to extend his own life. Meanwhile, though, Jake tricks Warren into switching the belts and makes him stretch instead, regaining his own youth. Then Jake mentions that he has kids, 5 of them. Warren immediately says that he's gonna go after Jake's pups to drain them next, and hops into a spaceship. But Jake doesn't try to even reason with him. He just grabs Warren's spaceship and hurls the entire thing into a black hole.
Bye, Warren Ampersand. Thanks for reminding me what it means to be a good dad by being the worst dad ever. Never even got a pretzel.
Totally valid response. Your biological father only sought you out to drain your life force and kill you, which he's done to countless other children, and then announces he's going after your kids? Probably one of the most justified Crashouts, if you ask me. But now back to Marceline. Which moment of hers is her Crashout moment? Well, it's this one in the series finale. Gulb, the embodiment of chaos itself, has been summoned to Ooh. His presence is corrupting everything, turning the Gumball Guardians into monsters, creating these massive creatures from candy people. One of these creatures is a giant mutant cake monster, and it crushes Princess Bubblegum, just flattens her like a pancake in front of Marceline, or like stepping on some gum, as it were. Marceline, who has spent 1,000 years losing people over and over again, watching everyone she cares about die or leave, finally found someone who stayed after reconciling their centuries-old differences, another seeming immortal to be partners with, and she just watched that person get crushed. She loses it completely, unleashing the Vampire King's essence, the power she absorbed back in the Stakes miniseries, and transforms into a massive dark cloud form with glowing eyes. She absolutely tears the monster apart, just wails on it until there's nothing left. Then she discovers that PB's armor had an emergency shield. She's alive! Marceline flies down, weeping tears of joy, and they embrace. She confesses she never wants to lose PB again, and they finally kiss. Why is this one valid? Well, you just watched the love of your 1,000-year life get crushed to death. Becoming a monstrous cloud demon and shredding the thing that killed her isn't a Crashout at this point, it's the only reasonable response. The fact that PB survived doesn't make Marceline's reaction any less justified. For those few seconds, she genuinely believed PB was dead. But Marceline's rage had a target that she was able to completely destroy. The last two Crashouts on this list? If those targets were destroyed, Adventure Time would have ended on a very grim note. We're gonna go right into these last two, starting with Fern, Finn's grass clone. He's having an identity crisis right now. He lures Finn over to a remote location under the pretense of bonding with him. Then he locks Finn inside and announces that he's going to replace him. Finn eventually discovers that his robotic arm, the one that Princess Bubblegum made for him, has a bunch of nice hidden features, including a weed whacker. So he breaks out, chases Fern into an open field, and they fight. But Finn doesn't want to kill Fern. He's trying to reason with him, saying,
"All this lying and fighting, it doesn't have to end like this."
But Fern's eyes are glowing. The grass demon inside him has taken over, and Finn asks, confused,
"What are you?"
They reach a stalemate. Finn says that he doesn't want this to end with such finality, and his robotic arm instead hears fatality, and the Weed Whacker mode activates at maximum setting. Finn's hand plunges deep into Fern's abdomen and just shreds him from the inside out. Fern explodes into grass clippings that rain down on a traumatized Finn. Finn just stands there in shock, covered in what used to be his somewhat brother. A 1,000-yard stare look on his face. So he just goes home. Jake and Bimo try to comfort him, and Bimo, who has never been good at reading the room, immediately says,
"I know that look. You just killed someone."
Finn breaks down crying. He didn't choose this. His arm malfunctioned or something, misheard a single word, and executed his brother without his consent. Self-defense against your mind-controlled clone is justified, right? But accidental fratricide because your prosthetic limb has a faulty voice recognition system? That's a tragedy. Finn wanted to save Fern. His arm killed him instead. That was an accident, right? Right? Maybe the Crashout wasn't that valid on this one. Alright, but this last one, that one was a choice. Ready for this? After escape from the Citadel, Finn is missing an arm. His deadbeat father Martin ripped it off while escaping from prison, using Finn as a human shield to save himself. Finn is trying to process this, and by processing, I mean he's using his psychic arm, which is an arm made out of pure mental rage, to build a tower to space made out of chunks of ooh. And he's singing while he does it. A manic, unhinged song.
Space is where he's gonna find his dad. Daddy's got an arm, and baby's gonna harm his arm by tearing it off his dad.
The tower keeps growing higher and higher, blotting out the sun, casting a shadow over the land. This is the first time in the series that Finn seemingly willingly gives in to evil. He's not being mind controlled, he knows exactly what he's doing, building a tower out of pure spite and rage and people's homes and land so that he can fly into space and beat his father unconscious with his bare hands. And yes, I do think that this crash out is valid and is the #1 crash out of the series. His dad literally used him as a meat shield, sacrificing Finn's arm to save himself while showing zero care or remorse. This was a calculated decision that Finn's arm was worth less than his freedom. Building a tower to space to punch his dad in the face shows incredible restraint, honestly, and the fact that Finn stops himself before actually beating his so-called dad into pulp just proves that he is a much better person than Martin ever was. The crash out was valid, but Finn could never go through with murder. Alright, but that's not the biggest tragedy. There are worse ones, and it's not this one I'm talking about either. The biggest tragedy that we're gonna talk about is actually hidden in my video about Finn here, so click here to watch it. And if you're curious about what happened to me, well, let's just say I had my own personal tragedy, and that's life. We just gotta live with it, we just gotta move on, and we just gotta like and subscribe. Hey, see you in the next video. Peace, guys.